Hello everyone and welcome to Sprue Talk. So as Dale likes to say, the cat is out of the bag. The Messerschmitt Me410 is our surprise announcement and we keep giving you these cheeky little surprises. Today I've got with me the positive, the ever beautiful Luke, our researcher.
Thank you.
You're a bit of a regular now here on the show.
I am, yeah. I keep trying to get away but you keep pulling me back in.
And the Enigma, Matt Whiting. Our
Hi,
sign manager. Welcome to Sprue Talk. You've been on a couple of times.
Yeah, I've been on the Q&A sessions,
Nice.
and I've also been on talking about the Avro Anson.
Brilliant. Well, today we are going to be talking about the Messerschmitt Me410. As I said, it's one of our quite a few surprises that we've had this year. Sea King, Sea Fire, Hovercraft, which have all gone down really well. And as we speak here today, future you will both be at Telford this weekend. Talking to everyone about this along with all of our other range. So we know by now how the kind of process works. We've picked our product. It comes to you, Luke, for research. So what was the starting point for you with this one?
So the idea of 410 was already around when I joined the business, probably 2.5, maybe a bit more years ago now. So Me410 was sort of already on the cards, and the first I sort of knew about it was we went on the trip to Cosford. It's obviously the only 410 that's currently on display. There's only one other in the whole of the world, and that's out in the US, but that's currently stored awaiting restoration. So it's the only one. It's about 8 miles from where we are today, talking Telford. So myself and my predecessor, Simon, went up to Cosford to 3D scan the aircraft. Obviously, there's not much choice in which aircraft we scan, so we went there and took loads of photos. Unfortunately, I hadn't been involved with the business for long, so I couldn't say to Matt, do you want to come along, because it's going to be your product. So I don't think, Matt, you didn't get to see the 410 during the visit, did you?
No, but thankfully one of the other designers did manage to get up there, took hundreds of photos, so we had a really solid base of information to work from.
Nice.
It's one of those where you start looking at an aircraft that's been in a museum for a long time, and there are the normal pitfalls. One of the more obvious ones with the Messerschmitt 410 at Cosford is that the propellers are not rounded as you see on the models, they are cropped. And that's because, as far as we've been told, they were run when at St Athan and one of them was damaged, and to sort of balance them, they cropped off the ends of all the others. So if you're not reading, it's quite easy to make a big faux pas with that one. So we researched that, and one of the problems with 410 is that there's not a whole load of published works around the aircraft. So you're really reliant on your primary data, so your scan of the aircraft, talking to experts where you can find them. A lot of people are into the Luftwaffe. When you're down into the 210 and the 410, it's a bit more niche. So finding people that knew a lot about that was quite difficult. And then obviously using your period images and sort of, again, primary sources, not relying on what's written in the books, because as we've discussed before, there might be 5 different authors and they all say the same thing. Doesn't mean it's true, because they've all copied each other over the years. So it sort of started off with that scan. That's where we sort of began the product life cycle, if you will.
So normally I would probably ask you, Luke, so why the Messerschmitt 410? But seeing as you came in a little later into it, Matt, what's so special about why this?
Well, first thing is to sort of try and balance out our range a bit. We've got a lot of RAF subjects in our range, so we wanted something to give a sort of a bit of an opposition. The 410, it's a fascinating subject, something that hasn't been in the Airfix range before. I think the last time it was kitted was by any manufacturer was over 20 years ago.
Oh wow!
We had access to the example at Cosford. Obviously, being based in the UK, that's a big help. So yeah, and it sort of fits nicely around some of the other projects that we've got on the go. So yeah.
So from your perspective, as in your role, how the projects come along to you? Because obviously you're divvying them out amongst designers, but do you get to just go, right, that's the one I want, that's the one I'm going to do?
To an extent, I mean, we've got 5 designers at the moment. A few of us have been here longer than others. So you kind of develop your own little niche. I've seemed to have ended up doing a string of sort of twin-engine Second World War aircraft. So I worked on the 48 scale Anson and Blenheim. I did obviously done the Messerschmitt Me410. I did the Heinkel, the B-25. So I sort of got a bit of a reputation for sort of enjoying that sort of aircraft. So yeah, when it came along, I was sort of really keen to get my teeth into it.
I should say that Matt has put in his request that he does no more twin-engine Second World War aircraft. So he does get to pick in that way, because we know that it will have a very annoyed designer if we feed him another one.
I guess it's nice to focus on something, but at the same time you want to have different strings to your bow. You don't want to get too stuck into that area. So box art is always a really, really big thing on our products. Could you tell us a little bit more about the artwork we've got?
Yeah, so the scheme depicted there was based in Norway, and that got us thinking, what can we do here? And it sort of took us back to when we did the F-86 F-40 Sabre, and there was this really nice depiction of the fjords in Norway, and we said to Adam to be the artist as always, we said to him, we really like that, it's a really good bit of scenery. Don't copy it, but use that as your inspiration, because quite often we've been using real scenes in or trying to depict real actions on the box front. It's a bit more difficult with 410s, where records don't survive and things like that. You can't pick out a certain date where they were doing so and so, and you open yourself up to criticism almost if you're getting something wrong. So why make it difficult for yourself? Sometimes you just want a really pretty picture of a lovely looking aeroplane, and that's what we said to Adam. We want something that looks good, having that sort of fjords behind, and it really makes the aircraft pop, and that's sort of where we went with it.
So I've always wondered, do you pick the subject before you pick the scale, or do you pick the scale before you pick the subject?
I think when you look at the Airfix range, within that you've got different scales, and we always try and sort of add one or two at least new subjects to each scale each year. Just keep everything ticking along, keep everyone's interested in their own scales, own subject matter. So certainly this is a subject that fitted better into 72nd scale. I think it's been quite a recent kit in 48 scale. Right. But also stuff like this where the research can be quite difficult, it's nice to sort of dip your toe into the water at the smaller scale, get it out onto the market, and then you get a nice lot of feedback. So if there's a potential to enlarge it in the future, then you've got a sort of bit of a body of material to work from.
Matt's just started a whole new brick model of Fred's rumour. Me410 48.
There will be surprises there. The rumours will be going rampant on that. So tell me a little bit more about the design process for you on the Messerschmitt Me410.
So it's a little same. We started off with a 3D scan. We managed to get hold of some quite interesting manuals that sort of show the operation of the 410. We had some good reference books, and then it's sort of a process of building that into a surface model, breaking it down into parts. One of the things about the 410 is there's lots of different variants, so it's a process of understanding what parts we needed to include. Certainly for this release, we've got the big BK5 50mm cannon. We've also got the MG 151 gun pod in the bomb bay. So that was the first thing that we were looking at, the different armaments we wanted to offer. One of the interesting things about the 410 is it's got leading edge slats, and they operate automatically. So you can't say when it's on the ground or in the air, it'd be in one position or the other. So we wanted to offer the option for the leading edge slats in both positions. You've got the unusual machine gun barbettes on the side of the fuselage. So we've included that, and they can be made so that they can move up and down, as on the real aircraft. And we've got different positions for the radiator flaps, so you can sort of show it like if the engine was hot or cold. Different position for elevators. The the way we've done that is slightly different. We've offered sort of basically 2 whole tail planes so that you still get a really nice join between the stabilizer and the elevator, but it's really easy to build. So there's some nice features in there.
Yeah, and am I right in thinking that those additional sort of tweaks and things that you can do is a relatively new thing? It seems like a lot more of the kits now, we are giving those different options within the kits. Am I right in saying that's fairly recent?
Yeah, it's a balance between not making the kit too complex, but offering options that sort of really help to sort of convey the character of the subject, and sort of understanding. I always like to understand the engineering of the real subject, so you can understand how its appearance will change, like depending on whether it's in flight or on the ground or if the engines are running. It just helps to give a nicer level of authenticity to the model, I think.
Yeah. For you, Luke, on a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult was the research compared to some of the other?
It was 410.
Nice.
I'm here a week. So it is quite difficult, as I say. Lack of published works. There are some really good ones, but there's not many. Spitfire dime a dozen, but 410s are a bit rarer. So it was really difficult, and it was definitely a joint effort between Matt and myself researching it. It was one that was sort of researched as it was going along. More things come out of the woodwork that you need to address. So it was definitely up there. Probably 7, 6 or 7, definitely. They're never easy. Every project has its own complexities, but not speaking German, that always adds a level of complexity, especially when you're reading manuals. So yeah, 6 or 7 for that one. I should say to Matt's earlier point about putting the BK5 cannon in, the U4 variant and the U2 variant, which is the same as at Cosford, we thought we had to do that because otherwise someone's going to beat us to the really cool big gun. From a really simplistic view, it just makes the aircraft look really, really different. So someone was going to come along and put it in, and we thought it was the coolest variant.
And is there a particular event or campaign that the 410 is known for?
410 generally is known for sort of the last days of the Reich. So the BK5 especially, or the U4 variant, was designed to shoot down bombers from a long range. It was essentially a modified Panzer III gun, which is huge. So it had 22 rounds, I believe, stretching my memory now, and it would fire from something like 1 kilometre away. And the idea was it was one shot to shoot down the bombers. Fortunately, as with a lot of these, so 262s and things like that, they were just too late to the war for the Germans. So it's one of those what if, but it's also a sort of a failed design come good, which makes it quite interesting because it started off with the 210 and then they had to tweak it because it was awful basically. And the 410 was still had loads of teething problems, maintenance issues in its life, but it was a far sight better than the 210 that had preceded it. So it's a really interesting subject in that way. Nice.
And obviously challenges there to get it working for the right. Challenges in terms of design. Was there anything that was particularly challenging for you?
There's a few areas that are sort of quite unusual. The canopy is one. You've got these 2 big bulges on the sides of the canopy where you've got the gun sights for the guns on the rear fuselage, so making sure that we've got those the right shape because they really contribute a lot to the look of the aircraft. But apart from that, it wasn't too bad. Nice, interesting project to work on. Enjoyed it.
You're so skilled in twin engine now.
Exactly, yeah.
And the schemes, why these 2 particular schemes?
It was tricky with schemes. There's not an awful lot of 410s that were built when you compare it to things like 109s and things like that. And images are definitely harder to come by, or decent images anyway. So the first scheme, the A1U2 version, that's based on an aircraft that flew out of Gare de Moen, or was photographed there in 1945. It was in the process of being scrapped. So the Allies were obviously chopping up these aircraft, and it had a really strange sort of pattern to it, which got our deco artist Jonathan quite excited. He was, really into the depths of that one. And also, we've worked a lot with Norwegian Museum out there, the Norwegian Air Force Museum. So it's always nice to put sort of a Norwegian theme in, even if it's a Norwegian Air Force
Did you get
aircraft.
to travel to Norway?
Not for this project, no, unfortunately not. But we have been over previously. I think Matt, you went over for HE11, didn't you? Yeah. And the B scheme was a case of finding a decent picture of a U4. I was really keen to find one that had some gold rungs at the end. It was basically kill markings. Sort of failed to find them because you're always trying to find one that's an A1, because it sounds really picky, but when you're labelling it on the box, an A1 or a B1, they're slightly different. It's all to do with sort of, I believe the undercarriage was reinforced, the MG131's replaced, or there's different machine guns in the nose. So when you're going down to that level of detail, you have to be really careful that you're representing the right variant, even if a lot of people won't be able to tell the difference. We will, and we're our own worst critics, really. So it's a case of finding a good image. Sometimes the subjects don't, sometimes you're sport for choice, and sometimes you're not, and this was one of those cases.
I mean, the finished models we've got in front of us look amazing. I was particularly taken by the mottling that's on them, the kind of detail and that side of things. And I know from talking to Mike and our team how difficult that side of things can be, but the finish on them is really impressive. For you, Matt, what do you think is going to be some of the best things for modellers at home when they get their hands on this?
I think the tooling on this, so the actual mould tools themselves, we were really pleased with. Panel lines are really nice and fine, some really nice sharp detail. Especially in the cockpit, there's a big radio panel at the back of the cockpit, and the detail on that, really nice and sharp. And there's a lot of different configurations that you can build your model in. You can really sort of build two very different looking models out of the same kit. Get a lot of variety out of it.
Nice. So there you go, a brilliant model kit for you to have on the workbench, maybe for the lead up to Christmas. Obviously, like I said earlier, we've had lots of surprises this year. I know you can't pick favourites, but out of the kind of ones that we've surprise released, what ones do you like the most?
Well, I think my favourite release of the year, I think I'm going to go with the Ferret.
Yeah.
It was the designer's first project, so it was really nice to get him involved in the team, get him up to speed, and I think he did a fantastic job. So super proud of him.
Props to Ethan.
Yes, props to Ethan. Mine probably Seeking.
Yeah.
I feel bad we've not mentioned 410. 410 has its place definitely, but Seeking for me, that was a really difficult project to research, and probably the most rewarding as a result. So,
Nice. And Telford, as I say, future you, looking forward to it?
Yes, definitely. It's always great to see the audience. We'll see Guy, the chap who made these models as well, which is always nice. You get to see a lot of old faces and a lot of new faces as well. So, it's always fantastic.
You go most, if not all.
Yeah, I think I've done the last 14 in a row.
Wow.
So
That's quite a streak, man.
I know.
Wow.
So we've been setting the stand up in our storeroom just on the other side of this wall. Really excited to show everyone all the new models that our sort of team of modellers have made for us. We've got some display boards showing the mouldings off. Really looking forward to chatting to everyone.
We were saying earlier we've been in the same place for the last six years, so when you come in you get to see both your lovely faces. I wanted to ask you, Luke.
Oh no.
How you keep so much information in your head?
I don't.
When you're looking at so much different so many different pieces of research, how do you not get confused between different?
If you've seen the size of my forehead, the honest truth is, for us, 410 is an old project.
Right.
When we come to do marketing and things like that, it's Matt and I were both revising this morning, reminding ourselves of the different parts in the kit and also the history of the 410. So it's difficult from that perspective, having to cast your mind back. But I am doing 5 to 10 projects at any one time, because you're always helping the designers, especially the less experienced ones, with sort of the detail of their current project. But you also got a mind to their next project and the one after that. So I'm always confused what year it is. but it's a passion for the subject. I think that's how you remember it. If I ask any of you guys how cameras work and all that, you'll put me. Not put me to sleep, but
red light goes.
yeah, well, yeah. It's being passionate about the subject, and that's sort of how you can retain it. I don't know really. Is the answer.
And
Lots of practice.
And on your side of things, Matt, do you ever find yourself? I suppose are you working across different projects at any one time? Do you find yourself kind of going, "Oh no, that's not the project I'm on right now"? Sorry.
Yeah, you kind of have a period at the start of the project where you sort of just have to immerse yourself in it, sort of forget all what you've been working on the week before, and then you have to get yourself up to speed. But then the whole way through your project, as you learn more about something, you realise how much there is you don't know, and you continuously having to sort of delve deeper and deeper into the research material to check things, and you're finding out more and more stuff the whole length of the project, and then you finish that off, and then you start the process again. So it's interesting when you're sort of talking to guys at shows that they've only made one type of aircraft. So they might have made every single version of a Spitfire over the last 30, 40 years, and they know the subject in the minutest of details. But you've got to get up to that level in a period of weeks. So yeah, it's a challenge, but it's a challenge I really enjoy.
I've got images of you at home in a dark room, sort of like a scientist. Immersing yourself in absolutely everything.
Yeah, my wife sort of asked me why I've got piles of aircraft books on the coffee table at home.
I was going to say, do your partners ever say, "Can you leave it at the door for a minute?"
Yeah, definitely. There's no switching it off. Though. You're passionate about the subject. What Matt was saying there reminds me of sort of a graph that does the rounds every now and then, of sort of the double knowledge curve, where you start the project and you think, "Oh, I've got all this knowledge," and then as you learn more, your sort of confidence drops massively because you think, "I know nothing about this subject." The more you delve into it, and then you actually start to go up the other side and, "Oh, I actually do know now." So there's always this false hope at the start of the project. Easy. And then you get into the depths of it. It's really hard.
And how does it feel for both of you now? I mean, I suppose, Matt, you've been here a little while, but in the last sort of few years where my team and, marketing wise, we've been able to talk to you and the rest of the designers about projects. How does that feel for you to kind of be able to share your side of projects?
Yeah, it's really satisfying to see these projects that you've worked on for so long really be brought to life. Sort of thinking back to the work that you guys did on the Sea King in the summer, seeing like that on Chris's screen as a grey model, and then suddenly we're presenting it next to the real thing, and you can sort of see the whole thing come full circle. It's I think it's brilliant. Really, really like it.
Well, as I said, these lovely faces will be at Telford right now. The Messerschmitt Me410 is available for buying now, and you can have that on your workbench. Thank you both so much for sitting down and sharing your experience on the project.
Thank you.
As always, thank you for watching. You can follow us on all of our social media platforms and get all the up-to-date information, and of course subscribe here on YouTube. Before I go, any more surprises up Airfix's sleeves?
Couldn't tell you if we
No?
did.
No?
Couldn't tell you if we did.
We've got Dale just in the off shop, just making sure that you don't say anything.
Yeah.
Obviously range launch next January, so yeah, exciting stuff. Well, again, thank you both for joining us. Thank you for watching at home, and we will see you next time.